Welcome to the Fun Astrology Podcast. We are dialing in the week of June 9th. Thomas Miller, thanks so much for joining us. Wow, what a day. And before we go into the details, let's check in with Kristin and see if it's going to be a lucky day.
Today is a more challenging day, which continues through the full moon on Wednesday. This full moon is square the nodes. We also have some cautionary energy through the end of the week and move back to challenging energy for Sunday when Mars squares Uranus as well as Jupiter squaring Saturn. No lucky days this week, but to find out more lucky days for June, join the Lucky Stars Club. Thomas and I can't wait to see you there.
Well, pretty much as expected as we look at this chart. Thanks, Kristin. I hope you'll catch the weekly video because a picture this week is definitely worth a bunch of words. In fact, I'm going to leave the video to the description of here, this is square to this, and we've got two yods in the chart today, and we have Jupiter moving into the sign of Cancer. It's conjunct Mercury. There's just a lot going on in the chart. But I took a look back to when Jupiter did this in 2013, and ironically, back then, 12 years ago, it was also in June, but it was on the 25th. So the sun was already several days into Cancer. So last time in 2013, when Jupiter moved in, it was right there near a conjunction with the sun. And it was a whole different chart. For one, there was a kite. Jupiter and the sun were at the base of the kite. Pluto was at the top. Talk about transformation. Saturn was in the kite in Scorpio. Neptune, recently in Pisces, was on the other side of the kite. Oh my goodness. So Robert Glasscock and I did a video on the Old Soul, New Soul YouTube channel, and it's also on the audio podcast, but it's best to watch the video on this one. We did one I was down in Gadsden, Alabama, and we showed the waterfall there. You may have seen it. If not, I would highly encourage you to go check it out. And he mentioned, look back at the last time, 2013. Well, that's when I got the nudge to do the podcast and the nudge to email Fred Dodson about narrating his audiobooks. And my mom had just passed. And all of those are characteristics around this Jupiter entering Cancer. This time, oh boy, what a difference a dozen years makes. First of all, when Jupiter moves in, it is going to be conjunct Mercury because Mercury moved into Cancer last night. The other big event, and this lands on the chart two different times, is that when Jupiter moves in, it will square Saturn and Neptune, which are sitting at 1 and 2 degrees Aries. That square has some tension. Another factor is that the moon wobble peaks on Friday. That's when the sun squares the nodes of the moon. Well, Jupiter and the sun, even though they're going to be in different signs, Jupiter is in the party by default. It's within 8 degrees of that. So we have Jupiter magnifying the moon wobble. Also, Mars is in astrological terms a T-square. In other words, it's square to the moon and also square to Uranus. And I mentioned those yods. Those are quincunxes or inconjuncts, and those are also tense or challenging aspects. And we have Pluto on one. Pluto is in a quincunx to Jupiter, and so is the moon. So you see where I'm saying that this is a completely different chart. And if you want to know an expression of putting this chart together, look at what already happened, because we've been building toward this for about 2 weeks. And what blew in front of everybody's eyes on Thursday of last week, as we closed out the week, we had a big, massive explosion between the President of the United States and Elon Musk. I'm not going into the details of it. We don't need to. But that almost perfectly captures this chart. First of all, Mars in Leo, square to the moon in Sagittarius, and Uranus. It came out of nowhere. It was explosive, Mars. It was ego-driven, Mars in Leo. It was dual-sided. It was emotional. Oh, my goodness. Pluto, transformation. It probably will change some directions. the war brewing inside, and evidently it was simmering for a while. What have we been talking about with Saturn and Neptune in Aries? That symbolism is and always has been conflict and war. And if you were one of them and you had a friend, a buddy, who you thought was supporting you, and now all of a sudden you're in public rifts, that would certainly be the loss that moon wobbles can also bring. So while we're celebrating Jupiter moving into the sign of its exaltation, the sign where it does well, and it will be there for a year, yay, and Mercury also there, an area where communication and positive communication should be amplified. This is where old Thomas comes up with live your highest timeline, or be on your highest timeline, for a reason. Because if you are, you wouldn't engage in rock throwing during a time like this. This is a time to step back if there's a challenge. Let things breathe. Let things rest. Don't push your agenda right now. Let this settle down. Let the skies shift just a wee little bit, and let us settle into this new Jupiter in Cancer. It will be there for a long time. If we just give this a week or two, then it's going to fall off of all the challenging spots will pretty much fade away, and we'll be in a completely different path and completely different runway than we're in now. So that's the advice, is to celebrate what's ahead. Go back and look at what happened in 2013, but respect the fact that that was a completely different chart. And then as we approach this Jupiter moving into Cancer, know that everything that we love about it, the heightened intuition, the focus on emotional security, the emphasis of family and home and roots, the connection with the moon, all of that will settle in as soon as these squares get out of the way. So we're coming in tense, we're coming in hot, we're coming in fired up, we're coming in wobbly. You say, well, Thomas, doesn't this represent the, if you will, birth chart, the natal chart, the point of origination of this transit? Yes, it does. And yes, that means it could be a little characteristic of those traits over this next year. But it's also in trines and sextiles. It's connected to Mars favorably and Venus favorably. And of course, we have the ever-present now Great Pyramid. So Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus are all connected positively. So I think the big takeaway from this one is going to be the big, massive shift that we are under and how that is going to play out. I think as we look back on this coming year from the other side, I think that's the way we're going to be looking back on it, is wow, the transformation is upon us, and it really kicked off during this Jupiter transit through Cancer. So realize there is a destiny in it for each of us, for you and you and you. And when we look back, there's going to be a big, grand purpose in a big tapestry that is moving in directions we can only fathom at this point. I think it's thrilling, and it's going to be an incredible ride. Are you along? Let's roll. Okay, I hope that you have a great week. We have a very special video that we're going to be doing on Wednesday, talking about the Great Pyramid and applying it to Kristin's chart. She's a Leo rising. We also have the full moon then. The moon wobble peaks on Friday, so it's a busy week, and we'll be with you here every day through it. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great Monday, sending you lots of love and big Jupiter and Cancer hugs and wishes. Thanks so much for listening.